I still remember the way my stomach dropped the moment I saw those receipts. It was supposed to be a normal Tuesday afternoon, just me, sitting at my desk trying to finish up some reports. I wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from my email, and there it was. Hotel receipts from a weekend I never knew about. The dates, the location, all pointing to a secret getaway my wife and her boss, who also happens to be my best friend, took just last weekend. I froze. My eyes widened and a cold sweat instantly broke out on my forehead. My hands clenched into fists and my vision blurred around the edges. I stared at the screen, willing it to be some kind of mistake, but no. It was real. They'd lied to me behind my back for who knows how long. I felt this dark, hot rage bubble up like I'd swallowed a volcano. My fists pressed into the desk, and I squeezed so tight I thought my nails might leave marks in my palms. I couldn't believe it. I was supposed to marry her next week. We had everything planned, the date, the venue, the tiny details that made everything feel so perfect. And now, all I could see was her face, the one I trusted, the one I'd loved for years. She'd been texting him, sneaking around, hiding something that big. My mind spun with questions. How long? How many months? Had she been lying to me the entire time? The thought made my stomach churn. I remember the way my pulse pounded so loudly I thought I'd pass out. My fingers trembled as I clicked through her phone's message history. It was all there: late-night texts, flirty emojis, promises of meeting up. I saw the last message she sent him just the day before the receipts appeared. It was a picture of her smiling, leaning into him in a hotel lobby. My chest hollowed out. I could feel my face flush with heat and betrayal. She was supposed to be my future. She was supposed to be the one I spent my life with. Instead, she was cheating on me with the man I trusted most. The worst part: I'd always thought they had a professional relationship, nothing more. Turns out it was something darker, something I'd never see coming. It was like a punch to the gut, and I found myself trembling, not from rage but from this crushing sense of betrayal. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything, the moments I missed, the signs I ignored. She's been secretive lately, dismissive of my questions. I thought she was just stressed from work, but now I see the real truth. She's been lying to me for months, maybe longer. That weekend away, that was her last weekend with him, probably more. I could still hear the buzzing of that email alert echoing in my head, like a loud warning bell ringing inside my skull. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a train. My stomach twisted with a mix of anger, hurt, and confusion. The thought of confronting her suddenly seemed both necessary and dangerous. I didn't want to just break down. I needed to plan. I needed to know exactly what I was going to do. But first, I had to see her face, hear her lie, and get some answers. I went straight to her phone. I needed to know if there was more messages, more lies. I tapped through her chat logs, and there it was, a string of texts she'd hidden. I felt my jaw tighten when I saw a message where she referred to him as the one who makes me feel alive, and her saying she hated lying but couldn't stop. I clenched my fists so hard I thought my nails might cut into my palms. The betrayal wasn't just about the cheating. It was about everything I thought was real: our future, her honesty, her respect. Suddenly, all those promises felt hollow and stupid. All those times I'd thought she was just busy, stressed, or tired, turns out she'd been planning her escape with him. I could feel my blood boil. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to make her see what she'd done to me. But I knew I had to stay calm, at least for now. I couldn't blow everything up without a plan. I had to think, what's next? How do I handle this? How do I punish her for betraying not just me but our entire relationship? The feeling of betrayal was so raw, so sharp, that I had to get out of the house. I couldn't be there when she got home. I needed space, the kind of space where I could think clearly, plot my revenge, and decide what I was really willing to do. So here I am, still sitting on my bed, staring at the phone that holds all these secrets. I haven't told anyone yet. I don't trust anyone except maybe you. I need to get this out, and I need to figure out how to make her pay. I thought I knew her. Turns out I was living with a stranger. Now I'm just waiting to see how I'll respond. The more I thought about it, the more clear it became that I couldn't just walk away from this. Not without a plan. I needed to hit her where it hurts, emotionally, psychologically, and publicly if I had to. I was so angry I could taste it, bitter and metallic like blood on my tongue, the kind of rage that fuels crazy plans and sleepless nights. I knew her pretty well. She's the kind of person who's always been smooth, charming, and manipulative. That's what made this so dangerous. I spent hours packing my apartment trying to come up with a plan. I knew I had to act smart, stay one step ahead. First thing I did was call my best friend, Jake. I needed someone I trusted, someone who knew her, and someone I could vent to without holding back. I let everything out, the receipts, the texts, the feeling of betrayal. "Dude, I'm telling you, I never saw this coming," I said, voice hoarse. "She's been lying to me from day one. All those late nights, the excuses, she was with him." Jake was quiet for a moment, then said, "You gotta confront her, man, but don't do it until you're ready. You don't want to lose control." "Yeah," I replied, feeling the weight of those words. "But I want her to know I know. I want to see her squirm." That's when I started coming up with a plan. I was just going to confront her cold, angry, and unprepared. No, I needed to be deliberate. I had proof more than enough. The hotel receipts, the texts, the calls. I could nail her with everything at once. And I was going to do it in a way she wouldn't expect. First, I set up a fake email account. I needed to reach her without risking her deleting anything or catching on. I drafted a message, something neutral but loaded with implication. Something like, "I know everything. Meet me tonight at the usual place. No games." I didn't want to tip her off too early. I wanted her to walk into my trap thinking I was still in the dark. Then I spent the rest of the day gathering more evidence. I went through her social media, her emails, and her phone backups. I wanted to be sure I had everything. The more I looked, the more disgusted I felt. She had been so careful, but she slipped up here and there. Little things, texts she'd hidden, photos she'd thought were safe. I memorized every detail, every lie, every secret she'd kept. That night I waited in the dark living room, the only light coming from my phone. My palms were sweaty and my heart pounded so loud I was afraid she'd hear it. When she finally arrived, walking through the door with that fake, innocent smile, I had her cornered. I clicked on the fake email and played it cool. "I knew you'd come," I said softly, standing up from the couch. "We need to talk." She froze, her eyes flickering with surprise and something else, fear, or maybe just guilt. She looked like she wanted to run, but I was blocking her way. "You lied to me," I said, voice controlled but heavy with anger. "For months you've been texting him, planning your escape, and I only just found out. How long has this been going on?" Her face twisted, trying to feign innocence. "I don't know what you're talking about. You must be mistaken." I shook my head, holding up the hotel receipts. "Don't lie, I saw the proof. The weekend away, the messages, everything points to you too. How could you do this?" Her lips trembled and she looked away. "It's not what it seems. Save it," I snapped, my voice rising. "You've been lying, sneaking around, cheating on me, and now you want to pretend like I don't know." She finally broke down, tears streaming down her face, trembling as she tried to speak. But I was beyond caring. All I saw was betrayal. That's when I knew my next move. This wasn't just about heartbreak. It was about ending her game once and for all. I decided I'd let her think I was still naive, still in shock, but I was already planning the fallout. I wanted her to see that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I'd taken everything she threw at me, her lies, her betrayal, and I was going to give her a taste of her own medicine. The question was, how deep was her deception? And how much more would I need to expose to make her regret ever crossing me? I looked into her eyes and I could see the fear. Good. That's what I wanted. I wanted her to realize she'd burned every bridge and there was no way back. I was done trusting her, done pretending she was innocent. As she kept crying and pleading, I already knew the revenge was just beginning. I didn't want her to see it coming. I wanted her to feel vulnerable, exposed, and powerless. That's when I realized this wasn't just about her cheating. This was about me reclaiming my dignity, even if it meant tearing everything apart first. After I exposed her lies that night, I felt a strange mixture of relief and cold fury. No more hiding, no more pretending I didn't know. She was cornered, her tears apathetic. Surrender I didn't bother to comfort. I just watched her, feeling the weight of everything she'd stolen from me crash down like a ton of bricks. But I knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. If anything, now I had a clear target for revenge, and I was going to make damn sure she paid. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been run over. My mind kept replaying her trembling face, her excuses and pleas, and that sickening feeling that she'd been planning this for months. I couldn't just let her walk away from it all. She needed to understand the damage she'd done, and I needed to make her regret it every second she drew breath. I had to be smart about this, no rash moves. I needed a plan that would leave her devastated, without giving her a chance to spin her lies. First thing I did was start setting the groundwork. I reached out to a few friends who owed me favors, people I knew could help deliver the message I wanted her to get. I wasn't going to do anything overt. No screaming, no public scenes, just enough to shake her up. I wanted her to feel exposed, vulnerable, and vulnerable enough to understand that she'd lost control of her life, and I was the one who'd taken it away. I also spent the entire day crafting my plan. I knew I wanted to hit her where it hurt, something subtle but powerful. I had access to her social media, her emails, her phone backups. I dug through everything looking for the cracks in her facade. Each lie, each secret was a weapon. I was going to use them. I decided I'd send her a message, pretending to be someone else, someone who knew all her secrets and keep her guessing. I wanted her to feel paranoid, like her world was crumbling. That evening I bought a burner phone. No traces, no connection to my real number. I prepared a message, something cold and calculated. You think you've hidden everything, think again. I know about the hotel, the weekends, the texts, everything. If you want to keep lying, keep playing your game. But I'm not done. Not yet. I pressed send, then watched her social media, waiting for a reaction. Nothing. Yet. While I waited, I also made a few more calls, setting up an alibi. I needed her to think I was just as blind to her betrayal as she thought I was. I knew she'd try to spin it, deny everything, maybe even try to come back and pretend she was innocent. But I had enough damning evidence now, enough to make her realize she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. That night she called me, her voice shaky and trembling. "Please, let's talk. I don't know what you're talking about," she insisted. I kept my tone calm but firm. "You can lie to yourself, but I know the truth. And I'm done with the games. You had your chance, and now I'm going to make sure you pay." She begged, pleaded, even cried, but I was already imagining how to turn this entire betrayal into my weapon. I wanted her to see that I was prepared for everything. I wasn't going to let her come back from this intact. She made her choice. Now she'd face the consequences. In the days that followed, I kept the pressure on. I sent her subtle messages, played her against her own guilt, and let her see that her secret was no longer hidden. I was building a web, tightening around her, making her feel watched, judged. Every time she tried to act innocent, I had something ready to remind her of her lies. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal crushing her, so she'd fully understand what she'd lost. Meanwhile, I kept my distance. I didn't want her to suspect I was planning anything drastic. I wanted her to believe I was just hurt, confused, betrayed, but still willing to listen. That's when I knew she'd start slipping, start making mistakes. It was only a matter of time before she'd unravel completely. She finally snapped when she found out I was spreading rumors among her work colleagues, whispers that she was unfaithful, that her integrity was in question. Her boss, her friends, everyone started looking at her differently. The look in her eyes when she realized I'd taken control of her reputation was priceless. That's when I knew I'd hit her where it hurt most, her social standing, her career, her pride. That was just the beginning. The next step was to confront her directly, with everything laid out on the table. I wanted her to see the damage she'd done and know that I wasn't what she thought. I was done being the nice guy. From now on, she'd pay for her betrayal, and I'd make sure she knew exactly how it felt to lose everything she took for granted. The day of the confrontation finally arrived, and I could feel my stomach tightening with anticipation. I'd spent days meticulously planning every detail, making sure she felt the full weight of what she'd done, and that she understood I was in control now. I told her to meet me at that same little cafe where we'd spent so many afternoons, pretending everything was fine. I wanted her to think she still had some power, but I knew better. When she walked in, her face was pale, her eyes darting everywhere as if she was expecting me to lose my temper. I kept my expression cold, calm, like I was just another stranger sitting there waiting. She sat down, trying to act casual, but I saw the tremor in her hands. "You lied to me," I said softly but firmly. "You betrayed everything we built. I have proof. You know that, right?" She swallowed hard, avoiding eye contact. "I don't know what you mean," she whispered. Her voice was shaky, brittle like broken glass. "Oh, don't play that game," I said, leaning forward. "You think I don't have the hotel receipts, the texts, the calls, everything? You thought you could hide it forever, huh?" Her face crumpled like she'd been slapped. "Please," she begged. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean for you to find out like this." I stared at her, feeling the cold fire inside me grow hotter. "A mistake? You call this a mistake? You've been screwing your boss, my best friend, behind my back for months, and you want me to believe it was just a mistake." She shook her head desperately. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I never meant to hurt you. I was confused. I was." "Save it," I cut her off. "You've been hiding your lies for too long. I know everything, and I want to know why. Why did you do it?" She looked away, tears welling up. I felt like I was trapped. I was lonely, and he understood me. "It wasn't about you not being enough. It was about me losing myself. I thought I could fix us, but I was wrong." I scoffed. "That's bullshit. You didn't feel trapped. You felt bored and you wanted excitement. You wanted to feel alive again, so you cheated on your wedding day plans, no less. Do you even realize how much you've destroyed?" She started crying in earnest now, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. Please just forgive me. I swear I'll make it right." I shook my head slowly, feeling my fists clench under the table. "Forgive you? That's rich. You think I'm just going to forgive a betrayal like this? It's over. Done. You've lost everything, and I want you to feel how it's like to be completely broken." She looked up at me with desperation in her eyes. "What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. This was it, the moment I'd been planning for. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I was done being the fool. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small envelope, sliding it across the table toward her. "What's that?" she asked, voice trembling. "Your key to the apartment," I said simply. "I want you out by tonight. Pack up your things and don't come back. I don't want to see you again, ever." Her eyes widened like I'd slapped her. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," I said. "I want you gone. Consider this your final warning. You cross me again and I'll make sure your reputation's in ruins. You'll wish you never met me." Her hands trembled as she reached for the envelope, clutching it like a lifeline. I got up and walked away, leaving her sitting there, crying and clutching the key. Walking out of that cafe, I felt lighter yet also hollow. The betrayal had cut deep, but I'd taken control. I'd delivered the blow. The plan had worked perfectly. It was the kind of satisfaction I hadn't felt in years, knowing I'd finally said enough. The fallout was immediate. Her social media was flooded with rumors. Her friends started avoiding her, and her boss, who had assumed she'd be loyal, began distancing himself. But I didn't care about their opinions anymore. All I cared about was reclaiming my dignity and making sure she understood she'd lost everything she'd ever wanted. As I handed over the keys to the apartment, I looked at her one last time. Her face was broken, her eyes red and swollen. I saw her try to plead, to explain, but I didn't say a word. It was finally over. Walking away that night, I felt the weight of betrayal lift from my shoulders. I'd taken back my life, and for the first time in days I could breathe properly again. Sometimes revenge isn't about violence or destruction. Sometimes it's just about making sure the other person knows exactly what they've lost. And that's precisely what I'd done. The days after I handed her the keys were a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I kept telling myself I'd won, that I'd made her pay, but inside I felt hollow. The betrayal still haunted me in every quiet moment. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, desperate, tear-streaked, defeated. I knew I'd done what I needed to do, but it didn't erase the ache. It just pushed it down deeper, where I couldn't reach it. I stayed away from social media and avoided calling friends. I didn't want anyone trying to talk me out of what I'd done or telling me I'd overreacted. Honestly, I didn't care. I'd made my move and I'd stuck to my guns. Still, the silence was deafening. The house felt too big and too cold without her. I caught myself reaching for my phone, almost expecting her to call or text, then remember she was gone. Just like that, she was a ghost in my life. I spent the first few days in a fog, doing everything I could to distract myself. I went to work, kept busy, but inside I was replaying every moment, every sign I'd missed, every lie I'd believed. I wondered how she felt now, knowing she'd lost everything she'd tried to hide. Did she regret it? Did she realize how much she'd screwed up? I didn't care to ask. I only cared that I'd taken back control. But then something changed. I started seeing her spiral. I'd check her social media just out of habit and see posts she'd tried to hide, angry comments, cryptic messages, pleas for help. I saw her trying to reach out to mutual friends, trying to spin her side, but it was too late. I'd already exposed her. Her reputation was tumbling faster than she could catch up. I remember feeling a strange sense of satisfaction watching it all unfold. She thought she was clever, slipping away with her secrets, but I'd made sure everyone knew the truth. That was the thing about betrayal. Once the web starts to tighten, there's no way out. She was losing everything she'd built, and that sense of power, well, it was intoxicating. One particular evening, I was sitting in my apartment, the only light coming from an old lamp. I was trying to relax, but my mind kept racing. That's when my phone buzzed. I saw her name on the screen and I hesitated. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but another, darker part knew I had to hear what she had to say. I answered, "What do you want?" There was a long pause, then her shaky voice came through. "I just want to talk, please. I know I messed up. I want to fix this. Fix it." I cut her off sharply. "You had your chance. You threw it all away for a weekend with your boss. I don't want to hear your lies anymore." She was crying now. "I still love you. I swear I never meant for it to go this far. I was stupid and I regret everything." I felt my jaw tight. "Love? You think love means cheating, lying, and sneaking around? That's not love, that's betrayal, and I'm done trusting you. Please," she begged, "just give me one more chance. I'll make it right. I swear I'll do anything." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my anger in check. "You want to fix it? Fine, but it's too late. I'm done. Don't call me again. Don't try to contact me. You lost me when you decided your loyalty was more with him than with me." I hung up, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. I'd sent her a clear message. I was done, finished, no coming back. And yet deep down I knew the wounds wouldn't heal overnight. Betrayal like that leaves scars even if you manage to move on. The truth was I didn't want her back. Not anymore. The trust was shattered beyond repair. But I also knew I'd never forget the pain of watching someone I loved so deeply turn into a stranger. That pain pushed me to reflect on what I tolerated, on the kind of person I wanted to be, and on what real loyalty meant. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into work, friends, and rebuilding my life. I started going to the gym again, filling my days with activities that kept my mind busy. I made a pact with myself. I wouldn't let this define me. I'd use what happened as a lesson. Trust is fragile, but I realized now that I'd been giving too much of it away to the wrong people. One night I found myself sitting alone on my balcony, staring at the city lights flickering below. The air was cool and I could feel my heartbeat slowing down. I thought about her, about everything I'd lost, and about what I'd gained: clarity, strength, a sense of control I'd never truly had before. I finally understood that revenge wasn't just about hurting her. It was about reclaiming myself, about breaking free from the chaos she dragged me into. That's when I decided to let go of the anger, to forgive myself for trusting too easily, and to move forward, better, wiser, and more cautious. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't just making someone suffer. It's showing them you're stronger without them, and that no betrayal can keep you down forever. A few months have gone by since I handed her the keys, and honestly, life feels different now, better in a way I never expected. I still think about that night sometimes, the moment I saw those receipts and the cold shock that hit me, but I've learned to accept it. That betrayal was a wake-up call, a brutal reminder that trust is fragile and that people can surprise you in the worst ways. I don't dwell on the past anymore. Instead, I focus on rebuilding myself, my confidence, my boundaries, my sense of worth. I've gone back to doing the things I love, reconnecting with friends, and taking the time to understand what I want from life. No more allowing someone else's lies to define my story. I learned the hard way that sometimes the best way to heal is to cut the poison out completely. Looking back, I realized my revenge was less about hurting her and more about reclaiming my dignity. Yes, I made her feel vulnerable, crushed her ego, shattered her reputation. But more importantly, I proved to myself that I could stand tall in the face of betrayal. I didn't need to stoop to her level. I just needed to be stronger. And I was. Now I keep my circle small and I'm more cautious about who I trust. The experience taught me that loyalty isn't something everyone deserves. I'm more intuitive, more aware of red flags. That pain, that betrayal, changed my perspective. It made me realize that sometimes the greatest act of self-love is walking away from someone who doesn't truly value you. As for her, she's distant now, probably realizing she lost not just her relationship, but her reputation, her future, and her peace of mind. I don't regret what I did. If anything, I'm grateful I finally stood up for myself. I refuse to be a victim of someone else's choices. I control my story, and I refuse to let anyone take that away from me again. So here's what I want anyone reading this to remember. When you find out someone you love has betrayed you, don't wait around for them to fix it. Take control. Make them understand the consequences of their actions. And most importantly, don't lose sight of who you are, because in the end, the strongest revenge isn't in hurting others. It's in rising above the pain and rebuilding your life on your own terms. I handed over the keys, walked away, and started fresh. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. That betrayal, it broke me open, but it also made me stronger. And now, I finally feel like I'm in charge of my own happiness again.